Hello, everybody. I'm going to do an analysis of my two different fights. One with hit points, one is with hit dice in the upper temple. Um, and this is actually kind of interesting results. I'm going to go through it, and you can see this. So these are my main characters: St. Regis, Wolfgar, McDuffin, Thornbolt, and Rasmuth. If you've been watching any bit of this, you kind of heard me talk about these guys. So what I did is basically find out how much they lost. And so at the end, so this is hit points versus hit dice. So Wolfgar started off with 79 hit points. And at the end, when he used the hit point version of this, he had 78. He got hit once for 1 hit point. So he had 99% of his hit points remaining. Compared to the hit dice, he got hit once, which basically took one of his hit dice. So he had 19 out of 20, which gives him 95% in the end. So I'll go through each one of these really quickly. McDuffin, he had 62 out of 73 hit points, which is 85%. He had 9 out of 16 hit dice, which is 56%. He got hit a lot in when we did use the hit dice version. Thornbolt, 43 out of 49, which is 88%. And he got hit only once, so 1 out of 10 times, right, for 90% when we use the hit dice. Rasmuth was 40 out of 46 with hit points, gives him 87%. And he didn't get hit at all when we played with the hit dice, or I played. It sound like several people were in the room. We kind of tucked him in the back and never let him got touched. So he had 100% of his hit dice left over at the end. St. Regis, he had, in this case, 35 out of 58. So that's 60% in the end. And he had 8 out of 15, which ends up being 53% with the hit dice. So he got hit a lot. So when you did the analysis, you just take them all and divide them by so out of all the percentages, divide by 5. 84% was the retention with the hit points compared to 79% retention with the actual hit dice. Now, I'll admit there's one thing that's not in this thing, and that's their constitution bonus. They all had a constitution bonus in here, and I kind of left it out. I'm just kind of noticing that right now. But still, looking at the difference, it was mostly in time. Okay, there's a 24% less time in the encounter when using the hit dice. So for hit points, it took me 1 hour and 24 minutes. I went back and checked it from when I started to where I ended, even with all my banter and crap in between. And there was a lot, it seemed like a lot more counting compared to the hit dice. The hit dice took about 1 hour for that encounter. Okay, I thought it was long, and it is a long encounter. Did it twice for 2.5 hours, So how I figured this out, I took 84 minutes, which was my top one, subtracted the 64 minutes, gives me 20-minute difference divided by my total time for the hit points, which gives me 24% less time. Okay, so this is my analysis on how you can pretty much do this. It's pretty easy. If you have characters with 1d8 hit dice, such as any of the fighter classes, right? So you got a fighter, your paladin, ranger, right? So you get 2 hit dice per level. Okay. If you have a constitution less than 13, you don't get the bonus. So at 10th level, I'm just did these at 10th level, it's real easy. So you get 20 hit dice, which means you can get hit 20 times before dying, which is pretty interesting. Now, if someone chucks a fireball at you, 10d6, and rolls a 10-sided dice and gets a 10, obviously you can lose half of your hit dice. We could talk about that when we get to the spells. But if you just average the amount of hit points you have, it's like 40. And this is with no constitution bonus. So basically it's D8, which is 8 times 40. I mean, 8 times 10 is equal to 40. I'm sorry. 8 times 10 is 80, divided by 2 is 40, right? Now look at this one right here. It's 1d6. You're talking about your clerics and your druids. I gave them 1.5 hit dice per level, right? So at 10th level, he would have 15 hit dice. If we just did hit points, so it'd be essentially 6 times 10 is 60, divided by 2 would be 30. And obviously the magic is if you see the pattern here, they just get 1. Where it makes a big difference is when they start getting the actual constitution bonus is greater than 13. They all had it. For some reason, I kind of cherry picked my characters, so they all had that walking in because I knew they were going to get beat up pretty bad in Rapanathuk. Well, that's where you get, this is where the difference is sort of interesting. So with these guys, you just get 1 more hit dice. So this would be 21, 16, and 11, right? 21, 16, 11. But these get 10 extra hit points. So instead of 40, you get 50. And instead of 30, you get 40. Instead of 20, you get 30. Okay, that's a big difference right there. I do want to mention spells. One way you could play it, like I just mentioned, if you have a 10d6 fireball, so it's a 10th level wizard throwing a d6 fireball, you get to roll 1d6 for each level. So roll 10-sided dice. How many hit dice? It would be, that could tell how many's lost, right? And the last one is the spells here with confusion. This is really interesting. I figured out I did play it right. Okay. With that, thanks for listening.